Yesterday, the House Intelligence Committee released the transcripts from its long-running Russia investigation. Perhaps the most significant revelation was that a slew of Obama officials under the committee, they told the committee under oath that they saw no evidence of collusion. We at the Ingram Angle thought, wouldn't it be interesting to see if their closed-door statements matched their public television appearances? Let's start with Susan Rice, Obama's former national security advisor, best known for lying on every single Sunday show about Benghazi. Rice said this to ABC during the summer of 2018.
Does that mean you think it's an open question whether or not he's compromised by Russia?
George, I don't know what his motivations are. I think that's a legitimate question.
So she tells America it's a legitimate question. But just months earlier, she told the Intel Committee, again under oath, she didn't recall intelligence of a conspiracy prior to my departure. Then there's James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence and virulent Trump hater, who peddled this on CNN.
Do you agree with Andrew McKay that it's possible that the President of the United States, the President, is a Russian asset?
Well, I completely agree with the way Andy characterized it.
But to the House Intel Committee, Clapper said, quote, I never saw any direct empirical evidence that the Trump campaign or someone in it was plotting, conspiring with the Russians to meddle with the election. And then there's Ben Echo Chamber Rhodes, who was sure Mueller was building an airtight case.
And Bob Mueller is just methodically building a case that I think leads up to very high levels around Trump.
No, be specific. When you say very high levels around Trump, what do you suspect is going to happen?
Well, only Bob Mueller knows that, Wolf. But I think there's a lot of smoke, and I would suspect that there's fire there.
But he wasn't so confident some 9 months prior, telling the committee under penalty of perjury, I saw indications of potential coordination, but I did not see, the specific evidence of the actions of the Trump campaign. Look, we could go on and on. We knew Intel officials could be two-faced, but the craven duplicity on display from these Obama administration partisans only fanned the flames of a divisive impeachment fight. Joining me now is Sarah Carter, Fox News contributor, host of the Sarah Carter podcast, and Greg Jarrett, Fox News legal analyst. Sarah, I'm going to start with you. They knew all along it was a sham, and they still trotted out the same attacks. Your take?
This is a cabal of liars of the Obama administration, senior officials. And you have to ask yourself, Raymond, one question. They all stuck with the same exact propaganda, the same exact disinformation that the Trump administration, that the Trump campaign conspired with Russia, even though they had no evidence whatsoever, and they manufactured that evidence against the president. And this is why, Raymond, all of them need to be investigated, because what they did here was not only an effect of our national security, they basically told a lie across the globe and divided our nation for more than 3 years. And eventually someone's going to pay the price for this. And I think this is exactly why John Durham and Attorney General William Barr are conducting this investigation so thoroughly, because what they did here was a crime against the American people.
Now, the left is now using Flynn's vindication really to justify so much here as an excuse to resurrect the Russia hoax. Listen.
The dismissal of charges against Flynn and a conversation by the president with Vladimir Putin, that's not a coincidence.
I actually think that's what Donald Trump wants. He's going to welcome again Russian interference. So this is a gift to the Kremlin.
That's his Russia guy. Bet on it. If he can get Flynn back in the door, he will.
Greg, will the resistance ever move past the Russia collusion conspiracy theory?
No, they'll never give up the ghost. What was amazing about the 53 people who were interviewed, and we saw the transcripts over the last 24 hours, these are people in government who had access to evidence. And yet when asked, do you have any evidence of collusion, they all, to a person, said no. And then most of them said, but, I've been reading stories about it and hearing on television, the media has been saying it. Think about how incredibly stupid that is. These people are either terminally biased or they're incredibly dumb. The collusion hoax was driven in large part by Adam Schiff and his sycophants in the media. They didn't have the evidence, so they invented it with poorly sourced stories. they were being fed disinformation by people like Brennan and Clapper. I mean, Clapper is the one on MSNBC who told Andrea Mitchell there's evidence of collusion between Russia and Trump. Brennan said Russians have something on Trump and they're going to expose it. And then, of course, Andrew McCabe, last year when he was peddling his book, said on CNN he thought it was possible that Trump is still a Russian asset. All three of those people I named knew that was untrue, but they didn't care.
Sarah, I want to go to you for a moment. Why is it that Obama asks Comey and Yates, how should we treat Michael Flynn? Why does he ask that question to them in that private meeting in the Oval Office?
Well, I think that's pretty evident because he, along with Michael Flynn, had a very divisive relationship. When Michael Flynn challenged him on the narrative that he was spreading, that Al-Qaeda was on the run and that ISIS was just this JV team, Michael Flynn was not going to accept that. He also was not going to accept the fact that there were serious problems within the intelligence community, and he challenged President Obama on that. And I think in the beginning it was a good relationship. I remember that. They had a good relationship, and then it broke apart. And I want to remind you of one thing, Raymond, that a lot of people don't remember, was that meeting that President Trump, very first meeting he had with President Obama at the White House, when President Obama put a seed in President Trump's head saying, I only have one person I want to warn you about, and that's Mike Flynn. And the reason they wanted Mike Flynn out was because he was the only one in the administration that really understood the intelligence community, and he was going to catch all of them and what they were doing, which was what they were trying to do, was break the administration apart and remove President Trump.
Now, this morning, President Trump spoke very quickly. Greg, I want your reaction to this. He spoke about what may come next. Listen.
There's more to come from what I understand, and they're going to be far greater than what you've seen so far. And what you've seen so far is incredible, especially as it relates to President Obama. Because if anyone thinks that he and Sleepy Joe Biden didn't know what was going on, they have another thing coming.
Greg, could more revelations come forward to show that this was orchestrated from the top? And what do you make of Biden's involvement? Very quickly.
Well, there was a pivotal meeting on January 5th, 2017, before the inauguration in the Oval Office. President Trump, Biden, Comey, Clapper, Yates, Susan Rice. And the product of that meeting was the acceleration of an investigation of Michael Flynn that the field office in Washington had already shut down. It was resurrected by Peter Strzok at the behest of Comey and McCabe. So I think you're going to find out that the Obama White House had their fingerprints all over the Russia hoax.
We shall see, and we'll be in touch with both of you. Thank you both for your tireless work on this story for years, detailing what happened.